with this top and side view. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're basically going to first plot these on some planes in perspective, and then we are going to intersect them. So if we were to imagine that this, in fact, is just one curve as seen from the top orthographic view and as seen from a side orthographic view, what does that look like in perspective? And so you can see that I've got my corresponding planes sketched in. And so, here's my side view, and here's that top view. And what I'm going to concentrate on first is first plotting in this side curve. And there's a couple of things that we want to look at when doing that. One is kind of this exit angle and this exit angle. And we want to try and mimic those. So if I was just to look at that angle, it's probably going to be coming out right there and right here. And so how does that affect this curve? You want to look at both this top section up here when you sketch this curve in and this bottom section down here. So you might even halfway through try and put a little tick mark. But we'll say that's our curve. And now what I want to do is plot at least half of this front curve. And what you'll notice here is that it's tangent to this line, which is a left vanishing line, which is that line right there. And then it even comes out tangent right here towards the right vanishing point. And so those are the two things that I'm really trying to keep in take into consideration as I sketch this curve. There's a lot of this thing just decelerates the entire time as it's headed out to this back. So I'm going to come out tangent and then roll through to right there. So again, I'm thinking come through this tangent, come around, and hit this point tangent. In fact, I'm going to start back here and work my way forward. And so now we're in a situation where I need to mirror this over to the other side, and you'll see I've already started kind of this X method. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the X method, you can always find the center of a surface by putting an X in it, a rectangular surface, and you can extend that forward. And what this does, if you're accurate, is when you go through from this point through that point, what it does is it extends that surface and doubles it. And so you can do the same thing in perspective. And so that's what we want to start with here. So I've got this point. I'm going to go through that point. You can see I found the center and carried it in that direction. From this point through that point over to this opposite side. And then you're basically bringing that forward. So that's the mirrored rectangular surface. Now how do we mirror that curve? Well, I'm going to find a couple of points along this curve, and I'm going to carry them to the other side, and there's a couple of ways that we can do that. I do not need that perspective anymore. One, I've already got a line running through this curve right here. And if I was to duplicate or put a mirror of this line on the opposite side, it's quite simple. I just need to go from this corner to that center. And what I can do is I can translate this point over to the other side by showing where it intersects that line going towards the left vanishing point. So that point is mirrored over there, basically this little diagonal method. And I can do that same diagonal method in a couple of places. Or I can again just use some points that I've already got kind of plotted out in easy ways and carry that point over to the other side, and it intersects a line that goes from this front corner to the back center. So if I can sketch that in, there's that point translated to the other side. You can do it in a number of places. Let's just find one more towards the front. I'm going to go from a point right here on that center line. You know what? I'm going to go from a point right here out to this corner. So I can mirror just that line out there and find the intersection. Carry that intersection over towards the left vanishing point, and then find that intersection. And so now that gives me a few points. They're obviously, because of imperfection, I'm using some tools and some just hand. This isn't going to be perfect, but I need to, it at least gives me a good place to start to sketch in this curve. On the opposite side. And obviously this could be a little bit smoother right up here. And so now what I want to do is I've got that curve, and now I want to, all I've done is I've drawn what that curve looks like from the top view on this plane. And I've drawn what that curve looks like from the side view on this vertical plane. But really, again, my goal is to intersect these curves in perspective space, because even though I see them as two curves here, I'm looking for that just one curve. And so a way that we can do that, again, I'm going to use some of the geometry that we've already got. I'm going to carry a line vertically up from right there, and it's going to intersect this curve about right there. And I can translate that point over to there, carry it straight up. That point also translates over to here and carry that straight up. And so now I've got this rectangular surface. And really what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a construction that can give me those 2 points. So if we were to find that over here, it's somewhere, excuse me, about right here. So I found those points. And so now let's find them right in the center. So let's find that point and that point. Well, from the top I see them right here. Where's that point on this side view? It's right there. And now those points are out here in space. So that point is actually out here. These points up there. So again, you can start to see that this is still what I would see. I'd see this point if I'm looking straight down, like right there. I'd see this point if I'm looking straight down right there. If I'm looking at it from the side, I see it there. So let's find just one more. Let's find that point. So drop that down to where it intersects the ground plane. Carry it over. Carry this over. Here's where they are. There's my intersection. So here are those points. And again, if we were to look at that on this top and side view, here are those points. And so if all I'm trying to do, the last ones, let's find this back point right here. Carry it over. Carry this up. There are those points. And then the last thing we want to think about, what about this point up here? Where is it? Well, it exists. If we were looking at it from the side, it's going to be right on that ground plane. If we're looking at it from the top, it's going to be right on the center line. So that point actually is right where it needs to be. And now what we want to do is we want to construct this curve. And to do so, in creating this curve, you want to think about the next point that you want to hit before you go through the previous point. And so I want to think about this coming up and around. Going through this point. How do I get to this one? And then how do I go through there? Same thing over here. I want to think about how do I get to this point. You know what? I want to find maybe one more point along this line. We've already got this line drawn in. It finds that center plane right there. Let's carry it up. It intersects right here. Let's see how close we were on this side. Here's my rectangle I'm just sketching in. So there's that point, and here's that point on the opposite side. So pretty close. But I want to think about how am I going to get to this next point, and then am I going to have a smiley face or a frown? A smile or a frown. So let's do that one more time. Come through here to there. And it's a little bit of a frown. A lot of times when you're just freehand sketching and you're not doing these constructions, you're going to wonder, am I going to see more of a smile, something that's arcing up, or am I going to see more of a frown, something that's arcing down? Because we see a frown on the side view, and we see a smile on the top view. And so by doing this construction, we can basically define what that is. But all that is a means to start with some orthographic views, construct rectangular surfaces, and plot those points to create that intersected